fuck are you doing?
We're doing an episode of the podcast, baby. Welcome back to It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, where today we're going to be talking about porn. Not really, but kind of. This is a weird one to talk about, I'm going to be real. But anyway, I'm your host, Lugia, and these two are...
I'm Red.
My name is Patrick. I'm gonna be real. Boogie Nights sounds like the name of a Nights into Dreams dance spinoff.
You ever play Nights?
I have not, no. But I can just imagine like Boogie Nights on sale now, Nintendo Wii. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a cross between Nights into Dreams and Boogie, the dance game.
Balan, Wonderland, World.
Anyway, before we get into that, you guys see that Weird Al trailer?
I did.
I think I did, yeah.
Okay, so here's a question: have you guys ever seen that movie Walk Hard?
No.
Nope, never heard of it actually.
Okay, it looks like this movie is going to follow that because Walk Hard is basically a parody of the music biopic, and this movie looks like a parody of the music biopic because it's like doing a bunch of like stereotype music biopic stuff, but with the Weird Al.
And I know a lot of it. A lot of the stuff in here isn't true because there's a thing about Weird Al and Madonna being a thing.
Yeah.
They have never met. Weird Al and Madonna have never met before.
Did you see the did you notice all the Weird Al cameos in there?
I didn't actually know. I was too distracted by. Is
Yeah,
that actually Daniel Radcliffe singing?
Yeah. Here's the funny thing: if you actually look in the trailer, you'll see that Weird Al plays a couple like minor roles in it. So
Okay,
I think it's like a funny little gag. It's like
is
Weird
Daniel
Al just
Radcliffe
keeps showing
actually
up.
singing, or is it Weird Al dubbing him? Because if it's actually Daniel Radcliffe, he is like spot on.
Well, like I said, Weird Al is in the movie, so
I
maybe
believe
it is. Maybe they did get him to dub.
Who knows?
But yeah, I think it looks interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I wasn't really interested in the movie before, but this trailer won me over. So
Yes, now I just need to see if one of my friends has Roku channel so I can watch it.
yeah,
I don't have Roku, and I'm not really looking into.
I think
getting it,
my
'cause that's like
parents do. I could probably
that's the
steal
ol-
that from them.
Maybe, I mean, because that's the only reason I'd want to watch Roku.
anyway,
Shall
on to
we
the main show now. Yes.
All right.
Let's boogie.
So, Boogie Nights. This was released on October 10th, 1997, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who is a bit of a familiar face on the show. He's also
we've
done
talked about
Punch
we've
Drunk
talked
Love.
about- yeah, he's done Punch Drunk Love, and I talked about Licorice Pizza when that came out. So yeah, he's appeared on here a few times.
This movie had a budget of $15 million, and it made around $43 million, so it was pretty successful. It went over double, so...
Yeah, this is the movie that kind of put him on the map because this is his second picture. His first one, wasn't super well known, but at the same time, he literally made like his first and second movie like 1 year apart. So
We'll get into that in a little bit, actually.
yeah, he made this when he was like 25 years old, which I find impressive. Like, goddamn, how long was this movie again?
Like
A little
2.5
over 2.5,
hours.
yeah. It was originally
Yeah,
going to be
2.5
three.
hour, like this 2.5 hour epic that's basically like a remake of Goodfellas. Is like, goddamn.
So this movie was actually based on a mockumentary that he wrote in high school called The Dirk Diggler Story. And it was
Yes.
supposed to be based on the porn actor John Holmes, who I don't know anything about him, but I mean, he was an inspiration for this film, so I mean, that's got to count for something.
Yeah.
And obviously, Dirk Diggler is related to the movies, because you know why. The role of Eddie/Dirk Diggler was going to be passed around to a couple people, namely Leonardo DiCaprio, who was initially going to be Eddie until he turned it down in favor of Titanic. It's not that he didn't want to. He read the screenplay and he's like, yeah, this is pretty cool, but unfortunately I've already signed on a deal with Titanic, so, sometimes needs must.
I'm sure he doesn't regret it considering
Now
how much
considering how
money.
big Titanic became.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio did recommend Mark Wahlberg for the role, and he eventually did get it, but another potential candidate would be Joaquin Phoenix. But he turned it down because of his concerns about playing a porn star. I guess he just wasn't comfortable with the idea.
What's funny is that Joaquin Phoenix would later become a regular in PTA movies. He stars in several this director's work, so clearly no hard feelings were held.
Yeah, it's just the content of the film I'm sure he wasn't really too thrilled about. But if the casting choices for Eddie weren't crazy enough, Jack had a lot of potential candidates that all turned it down. So let me run through the list. Bill Murray, Harvey Keitel, Warren Beatty, Albert Brooks, and Sidney Pollack were potential picks, but eventually it went to Burt Reynolds.
Sidney Pollack, the director. That's interesting. Okay. Burt Reynolds, I thought was just perfect casting because I mean, when you think of like the '70s, like Burt Reynolds is just he is just what I think of when I think of like that '70s guy. So like I don't know, I think it worked out. 'Cause I thought all the casting was really good. And this has a pretty stacked cast, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Let's go through the names. We got Mark Wahlberg, Julianne Moore, Burt Reynolds, Don Cheadle, John C. Reilly, Heather Graham, William H. Macy, Louise Guzman.
Well, hey there. It's been a while since we've seen William H. Macy.
It's not that long.
Fargo.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. He's become a regular.
Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Philip Baker Hall, and I'd say those are all the big names. Oh, and Alfred Molina was there briefly. Huge ass cast. Again, crazy that a 25-year-old was able to get all these people on his second picture.
I have another interesting casting choice I want to share. So the role of Buck, who went to Don Cheadle, it was originally going to be set for Samuel L. Jackson, but after his previous movie, Hard 8, which from what I read was a nightmare to make, he was like, you know what? No, I feel like this is going to happen again. Give it to someone else. So throughout the development of the movie, unfortunately, Burt Reynolds and Paul Thomas Anderson weren't on good terms throughout the entire movie. In fact, when Burt Reynolds watched the rough cut of the movie, he immediately fired his agent for even thinking about putting him in a movie like this. So you'd think he'd hate it, but in later interviews, namely from 2012, when asked about his dislike for the movie, he said he didn't dislike it, which was weird. But he also said that it had nothing to do with his relationship with Paul Thomas Anderson. That might be because this movie won a couple of awards, but yeah.
Maybe. Also, PJ, is now considered to be one of the greatest directors in America. But so yeah, I don't know. I always found it like interesting how this movie is controversial because when I see this movie, I just see like a regular like it's a Scorsese pastiche, but about porn. So the way I see it was like there's nothing really objectionable about it. It's just replace the violence with in Scorsese movies with sex, and it's basically just Goodfellas or Casino or Wolf of Wall Street. Well, Wolf of Wall Street's actually already pretty porny. So
And even then, other than the one dick shot at the end and a couple of boob shots, there's really not much in terms of sex.
like
I mean,
You
there
know,
is sex.
Yeah, there is
there's
sex,
sex, but we don't like really see it. It's like
not really, no.
it's like soft core at best.
Mhm.
Not even all
But
like implied stuff.
I guess it's just the subject matter. That's
Yeah, and even like the story, like I guess it also is not as condemning. So I do compare it to Goodfellas a lot, but the one key difference I'd say is in Goodfellas, like these are bad people, and the ending is like their reckoning. And this, it's not. This was a lot more positive because, well, quite frankly, none of these characters are evil. Like they're fine people, and well, fine, like quotation marks, but
they're not doing anything wrong. At least
Yeah,
not until the 80s. Not until the 80s come around, anyway.
yeah, they're not like evil psycho murderers. They're just
People who
So,
are
like,
desperate
it's like-
for money.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, The Sopranos, like Tony Soprano versus like BoJack Horseman. Like they're both like shitty people, but like Tony Soprano's a murderer. BoJack Horseman like isn't. Yeah, so like despite their flaws and mistakes, they're evil and they're ultimately shown love, dignity, and like in the end, like I consider the ending to not really be like a sad ending versus unlike, Goodfellas, where like it's not a sad ending, but it's like for the characters, it's a sad ending. For the audience, it's obviously catharsis, but unlike most pornos, this one is about the characters.
Who would have thought you'd watch a porno for the actors?
So
What is Boogie Nights all about?
Well, here's the thing. I've never seen Goodfellas, so this is coming from the perspective of someone who has no idea what happens in that movie. But I'll try to narrow it down anyway. So, a high school dropout named Eddie Adams is living with his mother and father until he joins a man named Jack to star in a bunch of porno films. And he makes it big. He's pretty wealthy. He's pretty famous. Things turn sour. Then they don't. There you go.
Everything changed when the 80s attacked.
Yes.
yeah, basically it is To just like give you a basic rundown, it's basically the classic rise and fall narrative, but it's about sex. It's surrounded
less.
around stardom, you know,
Mhm.
because it is about porn, but also it's just kind of about like celebrity dumb in general, kind of the way I saw it. You know, you could make this movie about actors and like the non porn variety, just regular actors, and the movie would basically be the same kind of, you know, sort of. But anyway, what do you guys think about it?
I guess I'll start. This is only my second PTA film. I've seen Punch Drunk Love, as we talked about it, but this being my second viewing, I've noticed a few things between this and Punch Drunk Love that I guess PTA really likes. He likes long single shots. He likes intense outdoor lighting, and he likes his third acts to just go into violence out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are just my observations. If I could just say what I think about the movie, I'll be honest, I was not expecting to like this as much as I did.
Yeah.
This was a pleasant surprise.
When Elias told me all about this movie, I'm like, what are you getting me into? Like, I had my doubts going into this, but yeah, I enjoyed myself with this one.
Yeah, like I was a bit skeptical too, considering it's a 2.5-hour movie about pornography. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it very much. I didn't think it overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, so this was an interesting film to revisit because for me, I first saw this movie when I was in high school. This was like my second or third PTA movie. But now that I've seen all of his movies and I've seen a bunch of Scorsese and Tarantino stuff, with all that context, it's very interesting going back to this because when I first saw this, I hadn't seen Goodfellas either. So basically, me going through it again, I was like, yeah, this is just Goodfellas. Now that I think about it, except with like a little bit of Tarantino mixed in because you know, like you know how you mentioned like the third act just goes into violence. It kind of reminds me of like a lot of Tarantino movies. Like that recent Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, how like it's mostly about like a pretty casual flick about has-beens. You know, it's got an energy to it, but then in the end, it just gets really like insane and violent and stuff. And I was like, oh shit. But yeah, it's also interesting looking at PT's like filmography as a whole because his earlier films clearly were a lot more energetic, but I noticed his more recent movies lately have been a lot more slow and meditative, like Phantom Thread, The Master, Licorice Pizza. They got a much more looser vibe when this is a lot snappier. Like, I especially want to compare to Licorice Pizza because Licorice Pizza is also about the 70s, but that has a much more like a sort of warm, it's got a very different vibe to it than this. It was interesting going back.
Well,
What do you guys?
to ask a
Yeah, go on.
question, since you are the Paul Thomas Anderson expert of the three of us, I said I noticed that between this and Punch Drunk Love, he likes intense outdoor lighting. Is that a thing in all of his movies?
I'd say for the most part, yes. Some movies he takes it down a notch. Like I don't remember that being as much a thing in Licorice Pizza, but like Inherent Vice, The Master, I'd definitely say that. Yeah,
Well,
I
this was
asked
what, his
because-
second movie?
this was his second flick. Yeah, and remember he did this like less than a year after his first movie. So this was, for all intents and purposes, this was his like debut.
I asked because I understood the significance of it in Punch Drunk Love. At least that's how I interpreted it. But I wasn't quite sure of the purpose here of what it meant.
Well, I mean, this was trying to give like a kind of a sunny vibe. If you notice, like during the '80s stuff, a lot more of that was shot at night. It had much more of a dark, grimy feel.
Yeah,
to it.
I did notice that.
Yeah. Speaking of the '80s stuff, my favorite scene is definitely the scene with Alfred Molina.
Which scene was that again?
He was the coked out dude with like the guns that was like, and they were playing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just one scene, Alfred Molina was in, and he just stole the show, and then like 4 years later, he was like, "I'll beat you, Spider-Man." Yeah. Yeah, that was probably
this movie was pretty funny, at least for its first act, because when it comes to the '80s, that's really when it gets more dramatic. But no, there were a lot of laughs to be had in the first act.
Well, then the second act
Yeah.
lull happens, and then everybody's just having a shitty time.
Yeah.
Again, in the '80s.
Yeah,
But I
there's
think-
a lot of like dark comedy to it too. Like, part of me, like when William H Macy killed himself, like I was like, this shouldn't be funny, but it kind of was, just like the way they executed it.
Is William H. Macy just typecasted as guy with wife problems? Because I mean, in Fargo, he wanted his wife intentionally kidnapped, and in Pleasantville, everything was fine until color came into the picture, and his wife stopped cooking dinner. Is there a single movie he's in where he just has a healthy?
Does this tell us something about his life? Do we need to talk with him about this?
Well, actually, his wife,
Casey, you good?
his wife is currently in jail because of fraud. Uh,
Ah,
yeah, you don't remember the college scandal? Yeah, that was him and his family. They were the ones that were kind of the cause of that scandal. And his wife left him in that TV show he stars in, Shameless. So yeah, I guess he just got the face of a guy whose wife just gets into shit.
but I think a big part of what I liked about the humor is that a lot of it is just played completely straight, even though most of it is completely strange scenarios, I guess is one way to put it. Or at the very least,
Yeah,
it's not normal to us. For example, when Eddie is being introduced to everybody, he meets the Colonel. The Colonel says, "Hey, can I look at your cock?" Yeah, sure. Thank you.
it's very,
And it
it's
just
very,
holds on him for like 5 solid seconds, smiling.
it's
It just
very
made me laugh.
deadpan. It reminds me of like, so you guys are obviously a fan of Airplane, right? We've all seen it
Yeah.
I
together.
love Airplane. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
comedies.
It reminded me of like if every character was Leslie Nielsen, where it was like, I need to see your cock. Okay.
They just go along with it. No second thoughts. Just yeah, okay.
Yes, I need to
It's
see
like,
your
sure, you're
cock.
not
Yes,
serious. I
me
am
in the
serious.
mirror. Take
Like
out your
honestly,
pants.
if someone said, surely you're not serious, and another person was like, I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. In this movie, I would not blink an eye. I'd be like, yeah, that line makes sense here.
And also going back to William H. Macy, every time he sees his wife having sex, what the fuck are you doing? What does it look like I'm doing? Get out. I'm in the middle of something.
And then New Year's
Very,
happened.
Very dry. Oh, they also have Robert Downey Sr. in here. Sorry, I was just looking at the casting list again. Huh.
I don't remember who
always
he played though.
Bert. Yeah, I always figure that there was a senior. Yeah.
I also
Anyway,
found it funny, sorry. I also found
go
it
on.
funny how Jack's goal was to make a porno with a story that the audiences actually get invested in. It didn't really
that's
go
basically-
anywhere. It didn't really go anywhere, to be honest. But it was just a funny idea.
Hey, that's a revolutionary ambition, okay?
Yeah.
To put it in other words, he wants to make a porno where the plot is the second thing audiences have a grip on.
I thought Julianne Moore's character is one of the more interesting, especially with like the sort of found family element there with like Eddie and obviously Roller Girl or Brandy. Yeah, Heather Graham was also Heather Graham's great in everything she's in. She's honestly one of my favorite actresses. Like I said earlier, this is a porno about the characters, and I would say like I generally thought a lot of the character work was like really good here. Mark Wahlberg surprised me because I don't really think of Mark Wahlberg as like a great actor, but this and The Departed, it shows he definitely got it in him.
And he does have range. Like he's been in plenty of action movies and comedies. He does have talent.
Yeah, when I learned that Leonardo DiCaprio like recommended to Paul Thomas Anderson that Mark Wahlberg should take the role, I'm like, wait, really? He recommended him? How?
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg would not be the first person I would think of for a role like this, especially after the fucking Marky Mark workout tapes.
Yeah, the Funky Bunch. But here's the thing, it actually makes sense because him and Mark Wahlberg worked together on this movie called The Basketball Diaries, which was 2 years before in 1995. Him and DiCaprio were the main characters of those movies. So I guess I got to see The Basketball Diaries one of these days because apparently he was good enough in that where DiCaprio was like, yeah, I'm going to recommend this guy. Plus, he also got old Michael Imperioli in the movie, and I love him. And Lorraine Bracco.
Actually, is this the first time we've seen Mark Wahlberg since The Departed?
I believe so, yeah. He is not in that many movies we talk about. When we eventually get to The Happening, I guess we'll talk about him then. But that's the only other movie I imagine us talking about. Maybe Ted if I'm ever in the Family Guy mood.
I can't think off the top of my head if I have any movies with him in it I want to talk about. Never know.
Yeah.
Never know.
Who knows? Maybe I'll just recommend Transformers 5 one day.
Just jump right into 5.
Yeah, I haven't seen 5 either. I just heard it's insane. It opens with like Merlin or something.
I've only seen the first one.
I've seen a bit of the first one and a bit of the second one.
I've seen the original trilogy, and after that, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this series.
Don't people say the
everybody
Bumblebee
was.
movie is good?
Oh, I've seen Bumblebee. Yes, I saw that with my cousins when I went to England that one summer. But yeah, that was fine. Anyway, back to this. So obviously it was shot really well. To bring more Scorsese stuff. So actually, since we're talking about Scorsese and Mark Wahlberg, and I know you've seen The Departed. Did you notice any like filmmaking similarities between this and The Departed, or any of the other Scorsese movies you've seen?
It has been a while since we saw The Departed.
All right. Just one thing like I noticed was like so you picked up on like how PJ likes the long tracking shots, and I was like, I found that interesting that you noticed that he does that in like a lot of his movies because when I saw this, like my first thing was like, not only is the story similar to Goodfellas, but he shot it similar to Goodfellas because Goodfellas also had a lot of these like long tracking shots and stuff. So I was like, oh, you know, to me, I was making the connection, between him and Scorsese's work, but you were able to connect it to like all of his work, and I was like, oh yeah, he does just like it in general. When to me, I was just thinking, I was like, oh, he was doing it
Huh.
as a Goodfellas homage, but nah, I guess he just likes it in all of his stuff because I was like, I didn't notice
So
that. It's really well shot. Like you guys like how
it
it's shot,
is.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
I
think this
also
was
like how
great in terms of cinematography.
yeah. It was also cool
yeah,
how they switched to different styles of camera for interviews and obviously for when they're shooting the pornos.
yeah. I
Yeah,
thought
Variety.
that was pretty neat. And the editing was real snappy. That was cool. His next
Also,
picture, Magnolia, is like kind of infamously long, and I found that like interesting. How like people complain how that movie is kind of sluggish and long, and this movie is almost as long, but nobody has any issues with it. And that's just because it's just so well edited and paced.
can we talk about the soundtrack for a second?
Yeah.
Damn.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure between this and Dazed and Confused, I'm pretty sure it's law. All movies set in the 70s have to have banging soundtracks.
Yep.
That's law.
Like I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, it's half 70s, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Even the
This
80s stuff is
is
good.
this is definitely one of my favorite movies when I was in high school, and even now I still think it holds up pretty well. So
Just make sure you watch it by yourself and lock the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's not a porn, but people are gonna have questions if they walk in on one of those scenes.
So yeah. If you like this movie, I'd recommend you check out obviously Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, Casino, those joints. I'd also recommend maybe Magnolia. I'd say that's probably the PTA movie that's got the most similar vibes to this. All of his movies are actually pretty damn different. So I don't think I could compare any of PTA's other movies to Scorsese. Like this is just like the only one where he really does a Scorsese riff. So I was
Has
like, no,
PTA ever made a full-on action movie?
he has not.
Considering how his movies ends, I get the feeling he really wants to at some point.
That's his trump
Yeah,
card
maybe.
for like raising up tension. If he does it all the time, it's like, well, this has lost its luster.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Well,
No, I just
the thing with
imagine
people,
if he makes an action movie, the last 40 minutes are just going to be romance. Not
it,
a single gunshot.
here's a funny thing with PTA. I don't think PTA's taste and what he actually likes to make are like line up at all. Because like when he was being interviewed for Licorice Pizza, people are like, "So, are there any recent movies that you've seen that you liked?" And he was like, "Yeah, Venom 2, man, I fucking love that shit." And I was like, "Okay." Yeah, this is definitely interesting, seeing after I've seen his later works because like when I compare it to Phantom Thread, that's like such a slow, methodical movie character study. But there's still definitely parallels. Like I definitely think almost all of his movies have something to do with like love or found family, some sort of connection like that. There Will Be Blood had a very strong familial thing to it. So like I'd say all of his movies are in some way about family, except maybe Inherent Vice. Pretty good. I recommend it. I don't know, 2 thumbs up.
This is a
8.5 out of
this
10. I think I like this more than Punch Drunk Love, just a little bit. And hashtag Diggler Sweep.
Yeah, this is another recommendation for me. And yeah, I'm with you. I think I like this a little more than Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah. I do like Punch Drunk Love a little bit more than this, but they're both great.
But yeah,
Anyway,
Yeah,
so
so far
far,
for us, Paul Thomas Anderson is 2 for 2.
yeah,
yeah.
not bad. Not
I
bad.
legit don't think he's made a bad movie. I think his worst movie is his first one, but even that's
Part 8.
not bad. Yeah. I give
I
Hard
feel
8 a
like
hard 7.
oh, I do need to give Punch Drunk Love a second watch at some point because I was so confused when I first saw it.
You just want to see unhinged Adam Sandler again?
Maybe I'll
No,
get
we should
around to it
watch
again
Uncut Gems at some point.
at some point. Speaking of which, I do believe it's my turn.
Yes, it is.
All right, it's not Adam Sandler, but anyway, with this selection, this is one. Okay, this is a movie I knew I wanted to talk about at some point, but I also wasn't in a rush to. But at the same time, I feel like it's overdue for an episode. That's probably confusing, but okay, let me
Is it related to
start.
anything we've seen?
Ish. Gentlemen, it's time. Time to finish what we started. Time to finish the Dick Van Dyke trilogy with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
All right.
Okay.
Speaking of familiar faces, it's been a while since we've seen Dick Van Dyke.
Wait, did we
So-
do Mary Poppins?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did that with Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh, right, yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
And that was quite a while ago. I jumped into Mary Poppins not too long after Bye Bye Birdie, but I didn't get to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that quickly. But we're doing it now.
I've
Yeah.
seen this movie once a long time ago.
I've seen this movie many times because this is one of the movies my mom showed me when I was younger.
I do remember the
I think-
theme song, and it never leaves my head.
Oh, it never will leave your head.
I think this is the only one that I'm not familiar with when it comes to Dick Van Dyke.
I'll say
I did
this,
always
among-
find it funny how it came out like not that long after 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm like, man, imagine like the guy who went to see like those as like a double feature is like, huh.
I will say this: of the three movies, this is probably the weirdest. Like Bye Bye Birdie was weird, but I think this beats it out.
You could argue Mary Poppins is a weird one, but that's also a classic.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying weird equals bad. I'm just saying when you're describing what Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is about in detail, you realize how nuts it is. But I'm not going to go
Okay,
any
but
further
in
than
Mary
that.
Poppins, they go into paintings on the sidewalk and they enter different worlds where they interact with cartoon animals. You can't tell me someone didn't do a little LSD.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
There's like some suspension of disbelief is like oddly easier to, buy than others.
I guess. Yeah.
Like Mary Poppins, you just kind of think of it as like a live action cartoon, so it doesn't really phase you as much. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, Chitty Chitty
We
Bang Bang.
will.
Anyway,
Boogie, what's your outro?
I am a star. Pulls his pants down.